Life is full of challenges, and the reality is that at times we all encounter moments where things don't go the way we hope or expect. But there is one thing I want to explore with you today: the power of acting as if nothing bothers you. Now, I'm not talking about burying your emotions or pretending that you don't care. I'm talking about the courage to show up even when life throws you curveballs, and the strength to maintain your inner peace despite external circumstances. It's about demonstrating resilience and holding on to the core of who you are. In a world where we are often taught to shield ourselves, protect our emotions, and put on a brave face, the concept of vulnerability is often misunderstood. We live in a society that prizes toughness, stoicism, and the ability to handle it all. We hear things like toughen up or don't show weakness as if showing emotion, being open about our struggles, or admitting that we don't have all the answers is something to be ashamed of. But let me tell you something: vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, it is the ultimate act of strength. To be vulnerable is to expose our true selves. It means allowing ourselves to be seen not just in our best moments, but also in our imperfections, our uncertainties, and our fears. It is in these moments of honesty and openness that we find our real strength. True strength does not come from hiding behind walls or pretending to have it all together. True strength comes from the courage to acknowledge our weaknesses, face our fears, and still choose to move forward. It takes immense courage to be vulnerable. Think about it: we live in a world that often judges us based on the masks we wear. We are expected to fit into boxes that tell us to be tough, invulnerable, and unbreakable. But when we choose vulnerability, we are essentially saying, I am enough as I am, with all my flaws, all my pain, and all my challenges. This is not easy. In fact, it can feel downright terrifying. The fear of being judged, rejected, or misunderstood can make vulnerability feel like a risky endeavor. But what we don't realize is that in avoiding vulnerability, we actually miss out on the opportunity to grow, to connect, and to truly live. Vulnerability allows us to connect with others in deep and meaningful ways. When we open ourselves up to others, whether it's admitting that we are struggling, that we need help, or that we don't have all the answers, it creates a space for connection and empathy. I think about the times when you've had a deep conversation with someone who was willing to be honest about their own struggles. Did you not feel a sense of relief? Did it not feel comforting to know that you weren't alone, that someone else understood? That sense of connection happens because vulnerability creates shared experiences. When we let our guard down, when we stop pretending, we allow others to see us for who we truly are. And in doing so, we give others the permission to do the same. Vulnerability invites others to step into their own truth, and this shared authenticity creates an unspoken bond. Moreover, vulnerability is an essential part of growth. When we refuse to be vulnerable, we stop ourselves from experiencing the world in its fullness. We close ourselves off to new opportunities, relationships, and experiences because we are too busy protecting ourselves from potential hurt. But it is through vulnerability that we learn, grow, and evolve. Every time we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, whether it's speaking up in a meeting, trying something new, or letting someone see us at our lowest point, we open ourselves to the possibility of change. It's also important to note that vulnerability does not mean being reckless or exposing every part of ourselves to everyone around us. Resilience is often viewed as the ability to bounce back from adversity, to withstand hardship, and to continue moving forward even when life feels overwhelming. While these aspects are certainly part of resilience, the core of true resilience is not about simply bouncing back or getting over it. It's about acceptance. It's easy to think of resilience as a trait that involves fighting against life's challenges, constantly pushing through pain, and always striving for a better outcome. But in reality, the most resilient people aren't necessarily the ones who fight the hardest. They're the ones who have learned to accept their circumstances and make peace with the discomfort that comes with them. They understand that true strength doesn't come from avoiding difficulty, but from embracing it with grace and a willingness to learn. Acceptance doesn't mean resignation. It doesn't mean giving up or surrendering to the things that are out of our control. Instead, acceptance is about acknowledging reality as it is without denial, resistance, or the impulse to change everything instantly. It's about recognizing that we cannot always control what happens to us, but we can control how we respond to it. Acceptance is the first step in reclaiming our power in the face of adversity. Consider a difficult experience you faced in your life. Perhaps it was the loss of a loved one, a personal failure, or a significant life change. In those moments, we often find ourselves caught in a cycle of trying to fix things, to make them better, or to wish that reality was different. We might spend a lot of time dwelling on what we could have done differently or on how unfair it is. But in doing so, we remain stuck in the past, constantly fighting against something that cannot be undone. Acceptance, however, allows us to release that resistance. It gives us the space to acknowledge the pain, to honor our emotions, and to come to terms with what is. Only when we accept where we are can we move forward from there. Without acceptance, we remain stuck in a cycle of frustration, regret, and fear. But when we accept, we take our first step toward healing, growth, and ultimately resilience. It's important to understand that acceptance is not a passive act, it's an active choice. It requires us to confront our challenges head-on without denial or avoidance. It requires us to sit with our discomfort, to allow ourselves to feel the pain, the sadness, the fear, or the anger without immediately trying to suppress it or escape from it. This is the essence of resilience, the ability to be present with what is without judgment, and to find a way to move forward despite it. This doesn't mean we stop striving for improvement or that we give up on our goals. It simply means that we acknowledge where we are right now in this moment without judgment, and we choose to move forward from that place. We stop fighting against reality, and instead we work within it. By accepting what is, we free ourselves from the unnecessary burden of resistance, which only drains our energy and diminishes our capacity to adapt. One of the key aspects of acceptance is understanding that life is unpredictable. We don't always know what the future holds, and we certainly don't have control over everything that happens to us. But when we accept the impermanence of life, the fact that things will change, that hardships will come, that we will face challenges, we are better equipped to handle those challenges when they arise. We stop seeing adversity as something to fear and start seeing it as something that is part of our human experience. Life's unpredictable nature doesn't have to be an obstacle, it can become an opportunity for growth and discovery. Resilience also comes from the acceptance of our own humanity. We are not invincible. We are not immune to pain, disappointment, or failure. But in accepting our own vulnerability and imperfection, we give ourselves permission to heal, to grow, and to learn from the things that challenge us. There is no shame in struggling, and there is no failure in asking for help, in taking a step back, or in acknowledging that we don't have all the answers. When we accept our own humanity, we stop expecting ourselves to be perfect, and we give ourselves the space to learn from our experiences rather than beating ourselves up for them. The most resilient people are not the ones who never fall down, they are the ones who fall and then rise again, not because they are immune to suffering, but because they have learned to accept it, learn from it, and continue to move forward with hope and purpose. Acceptance helps us find meaning in our struggles, to see them not as roadblocks, but as stepping stones that can lead us to deeper self-awareness and understanding. Acceptance also plays a crucial role in fostering compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. When we accept the challenges we face and the pain we feel, we open up the possibility for self-compassion. We stop criticizing ourselves for not being strong enough or tough enough, and we begin to approach ourselves with kindness, patience, and understanding. Self-compassion is an essential part of resilience because it helps us recover more quickly from setbacks and continue to move forward without becoming overwhelmed by guilt or shame. In the end, resilience comes from the willingness to accept that life will not always go according to plan. But in accepting what is, we regain our power. We stop fighting against things we cannot change, and we start focusing on what we can control: our response, our actions, and our mindset. Acceptance is the gateway to true resilience because it opens the door to healing, growth, and the courage to face whatever comes next with grace and determination. So the next time you face a challenge, take a moment to breathe and accept where you are. Accept that things are difficult, accept that you may not have all the answers, and accept that you are doing the best you can. In that moment of acceptance, you will find the resilience you need to continue forward, not because you are immune to hardship, but because you have chosen to embrace it and rise above it. Authenticity is often hailed as the key to living a fulfilling life, but what does it truly mean to be authentic? And why is authenticity synonymous with freedom? In a world that constantly pushes us to conform, to fit in, and to meet the expectations of others, the journey toward authenticity can feel like a radical act. But when we choose to be authentic, when we fully embrace who we are unapologetically and without reservation, we unlock a profound sense of freedom that transcends any external pressures or judgments. At its core, authenticity is about being true to ourselves. It's about aligning our actions, our words, and our beliefs with our inner values and truths. Authenticity fosters genuine connections. When we stop pretending, we stop projecting an idealized version of ourselves that others may feel they have to live up to. We show up as we truly are, and in doing so, we give others permission to do the same. Authenticity creates a space where true connection can flourish because it is based on mutual respect, honesty, and vulnerability. In contrast, living inauthentically creates distance between us and others. When we wear masks or hide behind facades, we prevent people from truly getting to know us. We may appear to have everything together on the outside, but internally we feel isolated, misunderstood, and disconnected. Authenticity, however, breaks down these barriers. When we choose to be honest about who we are, we invite others into our world. We open ourselves up to deeper, more meaningful relationships, and we create a sense of community based on mutual understanding and acceptance. Moreover, authenticity is the pathway to self-acceptance. When we stop seeking validation from others and begin to validate ourselves, we free ourselves from the constant pressure to meet external expectations. Authenticity allows us to embrace our true worth, regardless of how others perceive us. When we accept ourselves fully, we can walk through life without the need for approval or affirmation from others. This self-acceptance is the ultimate freedom because it allows us to move through life with confidence, knowing that we are enough just as we are. But embracing authenticity doesn't always come easily. We begin to tie our value to our achievements, our appearance, or the approval of others, believing that only when we reach a certain level of perfection will we be enough. But the truth is, perfection is not what defines our worth. Our worth is intrinsic, inherent in who we are, and it is not determined by our ability to conform to an impossible ideal. When we constantly chase after perfection, we disconnect from the essence of who we truly are. We stop appreciating our unique qualities, our growth, and the progress we've made because we are so fixated on what we perceive as missing or flawed. The reality is that life itself is inherently imperfect. Our relationships are imperfect. Our work is imperfect. The constant striving for flawlessness can lead to feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and burnout. When we tie our worth to our ability to be perfect, we risk losing sight of the things that truly matter, such as our relationships, our sense of purpose, and our ability to enjoy life. Instead of enjoying the journey, we become obsessed with the destination, always chasing after the next goal, the next achievement, or the next image of perfection. This constant chase keeps us from being present, from appreciating the beauty of the moment, and from finding contentment with who we are right now. What if we reframed our understanding of perfection? What if we stopped seeing it as the goal and instead embraced imperfection as part of the beauty of life? What if we stopped measuring our worth by external standards and began to value our uniqueness, our growth, and our authenticity? In doing so, we would free ourselves from the constraints of perfectionism and allow ourselves the freedom to be human, flawed, imperfect, and wonderfully so. Perfection is an illusion, and the pursuit of it is a never-ending cycle that leads to dissatisfaction and disillusionment. Rather than striving for something that doesn't exist, we can choose to embrace the imperfection inherent in all aspects of life. When we stop chasing perfection, we open ourselves up to the richness and fullness of life as it is right here and right now. In the fast-paced, goal-oriented world we live in, it's easy to view emotions as something to be avoided or minimized in the pursuit of success. We often think that emotions, particularly negative ones like sadness, anger, or fear, are obstacles that get in the way of our progress. We're taught to stay positive, push through, or just keep going when facing emotional challenges. But in doing so, we overlook a fundamental truth: emotions are not roadblocks, they are integral parts of the journey. Emotions are deeply human experiences, and they are inextricably tied to every aspect of our lives. They are not simply reactions to external events, but complex internal responses that offer valuable insights into who we are, what we value, and what we need. When we view emotions as part of the journey rather than something to be avoided, we begin to understand that they are essential to our growth and self-discovery. The idea that emotions are part of the journey means acknowledging that emotional experiences are not endpoints, but stepping stones. Emotions serve as signposts along the path of life, helping us navigate through challenges, make decisions, and reflect on our actions. They are not the ultimate goal, but they are critical in shaping our experiences and guiding us toward personal growth. For example, when we experience fear, it often signals that we are stepping outside our comfort zone, taking a risk, or facing an unknown situation. Fear may feel uncomfortable, but it is also a natural part of growth and transformation. If we are willing to sit with that fear rather than avoid it, we can use it as a tool for courage and clarity. Fear reminds us that we are alive and engaged in something meaningful, even if it feels difficult at the moment. Likewise, sadness and grief, while undeniably painful, are also powerful emotional responses that help us process loss, change, or disappointment. Rather than seeing sadness as a detour on the road to happiness, we can view it as a necessary part of the healing process. Grieving in its many forms helps us honor what we've lost, learn from it, and ultimately become more resilient. When we allow ourselves to feel these emotions, we give ourselves permission to heal, grow, and emerge stronger from the experience. Emotions like anger and frustration, though often seen in a negative light, are also part of the journey. By allowing ourselves to feel, to express, and to process our emotions, we gain a deeper understanding of our desires, fears, and motivations. We learn to embrace both the highs and the lows, knowing that each moment is valuable and contributes to the larger picture of who we are becoming. Ultimately, emotions are part of the journey because they provide us with the tools to navigate life's complexities. Rather than waiting for a time when we feel better or have it all together, we can learn to honor our emotions as they come, knowing that each one serves a purpose. The more we accept our emotions as part of the process, the more we can experience life in its fullness and richness. In a world that often values success, achievement, and perfection, we may forget that some of the most profound and meaningful connections we have with others are formed not in moments of triumph, but in times of struggle. It is in the difficult, messy, and challenging moments of life that we often find common ground with others, not because we share identical experiences, but because we recognize that we are not alone in facing hardship. Shared struggles create a unique bond that transcends superficial differences and fosters a deeper sense of understanding and empathy. When we face challenges, whether personal or professional, it can be easy to feel isolated. We may feel like no one truly understands what we're going through, or that our struggles are too unique to be shared with others. Yet, as we open up and express our vulnerabilities, we often discover that those around us are facing similar battles or have faced them in the past. This realization, this moment of shared experience, is the foundation of connection. Shared struggles break down the barriers of isolation and allow us to connect on a human level. One of the most powerful aspects of shared struggles is their ability to foster empathy. When we witness others going through difficult times, or when we hear their stories of hardship, we are reminded of our own vulnerabilities and our own capacity for resilience. Empathy is born out of the recognition that we are all susceptible to hardship, pain, and loss, and that we are all doing the best we can to navigate these challenges. This shared humanity creates a bond that can transcend race, culture, background, and even language. We may not know exactly what the other person is feeling, but we can relate to the feeling of being overwhelmed, uncertain, or lost. In relationships, whether with family, friends, or coworkers, it is often the difficult moments that shape the depth of our connection. It's easy to bond with someone when everything is going well, when both parties are riding the wave of success and happiness. But it's the moments of struggle, of disappointment, of failure that truly reveal the strength and resilience of a relationship. When we go through tough times together, we develop a sense of trust and solidarity that isn't forged in ease. But in adversity, we learn to lean on each other, to offer support, and to show up even when things are messy and uncertain. Consider the bonds that form in challenging circumstances, such as in times of grief or loss. When someone we care about experiences a tragedy, it is often not words that comfort them, but the simple presence of others who understand the weight of that loss. The shared experience of grief, even if it's not identical, creates a profound connection and recognition that though we may not have the same exact feelings or experiences, we can still stand together in our shared vulnerability. The pain of loss is universal, and by sharing it with others, we find comfort in the knowledge that we are not alone in our sorrow. Shared struggles also play a critical role in community building. In times of crisis, whether it's a natural disaster, a global pandemic, or a personal hardship, people come together to support each other in ways that transcend individual differences. Communities are built not just on shared interests or common goals, but on shared experiences of hardship and resilience. When people face adversity together, they create a collective sense of purpose and unity. The act of sharing a struggle transforms it from something isolating into something that connects us to others who are walking a similar path. This sense of connection through struggle is not limited to personal relationships, it also extends to larger societal movements. Social change is often born from shared struggles, the collective fight for equality, justice, or basic human rights. It is in these struggles that people come together, united by a common cause, to demand change. The strength of movements like these comes not from the idealized images of success, but from the shared experience of fighting against something that feels unjust or wrong. The connection between individuals fighting for a common cause becomes a driving force for transformation, and this shared struggle becomes a collective narrative that binds people together, even across vast distances. One of the most profound aspects of connection built on shared struggles is the catharsis that comes with knowing we are not alone. When we can look around and see others who are facing the same challenges or difficulties, it provides a sense of validation and relief. It reminds us that we are part of something larger than ourselves. In sharing our struggles, we invite others to share theirs, and in doing so, we create a safe space for healing, understanding, and mutual support. In professional settings, shared struggles also play a crucial role in team building. It is rooted in a deep understanding of what it means to be human, to be vulnerable, and to face the inevitable challenges life presents. It is in our struggles that we find our shared humanity, and it is in that shared experience that connection is forged. In conclusion, the journey of life is not one of perfection or constant success, but one of vulnerability, resilience, and connection. It is through our emotions, our imperfections, and the struggles we face that we come to understand ourselves and the world around us. Rather than viewing challenges as obstacles to be avoided, we can learn to embrace them as essential parts of our growth and development. Our emotions are not roadblocks, but beacons of insight and opportunity. Perfection is an illusion, and the pursuit of it only hinders our ability to fully experience life. Instead, when we accept vulnerability, understand that resilience comes from acceptance, and embrace the imperfections that make us human, we find freedom, authenticity, and deeper connections with others. The connection is forged not through the moments of triumph, but through the shared experiences of struggle, pain, and growth. When we face difficulties together, we build empathy, solidarity, and a shared understanding of the human condition. It is in these moments of shared vulnerability that we connect most deeply with others and with ourselves. Rather than waiting for the perfect moment or the ideal version of ourselves, we find strength and meaning in the imperfections and emotional experiences that shape our journey. In embracing the full spectrum of emotions and shared struggles, we find not only resilience, but also the true essence of what it means to be human.